Hey everybody, it's good to be back here making videos again. I had a hiatus because, well, I was working. Lots of work there. And was I working for Mr. Benjamin here for the money? Actually, no, I wasn't. I don't get paid in cash. I get paid electronically. And most of the work every work I've done is I've gotten electronic payment, and when I pay for things, I pay for them electronically. I do bank transfers. I use cards. I I don't use cash. So I'm not working for this money. And what's wild is that very few people in America actually do. They get paid electronically. They've got bank accounts. They exist this way. And people who are paid with a check and they go to a check cashing service and they, get ripped off horribly that way, then they get access to money. But generally when they go to the stores, they're not using the $100 bill or even the $50 bill. They're using a 20, a 10, a 5, a 1. And this guy, for all the famousness we have, yeah, I'm doing it for the Benjamins, implying the $100 bills, for all the talk about it, we don't really see him that often in honest, just commerce. We use it either small amounts of cash money, or for the larger purchases, we use electronic methods. So why is this thing so iconic? Well, I mean, it's fun to, do this in a video, I suppose, or, whatever the denomination of currency. It's just fun to take a stack of dollar bills and flip them out, especially if they're nice and crisp, because they have a good flight to them. If they're worn, they flop down. But okay, so a visual effect. But I'm not working so I can do visual effects at home. I'm working so I can pay for food, clothing, gas, in my house, my things, and that's what I want. Savings for the future. So what do we need $100 bills for? If we don't see them in actual daily usage, and we don't, there was an author of a book. His name is Kenneth Rogoff. I should go ahead and show the book, and this might actually play my hand a bit here. It's called The Curse of Cash. And Kenneth Rogoff is the author. He also had another great book with the author Reinhard and Rogoff, doing This Time is Different. Great book about a history of economic crises and crashes and stuff. But this is him on his own. Anyway, he's been able to pull some studies together and show how large denomination bills aid in crime and tax evasion. That's what the little thing at the top says there. It also constrains monetary policy. I'm going to leave that to the side. I just want to talk about the crime and tax evasion and things like that. When we look at actual transactions involving cash in the United States, the overwhelming majority, well over 90%, well over 95%. I think it's like beyond that. But they're using very small denomination bills. And when you look at people who are unbanked, people who are the very poorest of the poor, who do not have banking accounts, the cash that they're using is overwhelmingly 20s, 10s, 5s, and 1s, and small change. They are not using the 50. They're not using the 100. They just are not. And if we removed the $100 bill and the $50 bill, they would not be adversely impacted. I would not be adversely impacted. Nobody I know would be adversely impacted. Or, well, no, there's someone I do know who would be adversely impacted. Actually, there's two people I know. One of them is a guy who I think employs illegal aliens to do contract work. That is, painting houses, fixing fences, doing roof. He's a general contractor, and he's always paying in cash. If he pays it with a $100 bill, he would be impacted. And the other one that would be impacted, I haven't met him in a long time because I lived next to him, 37 years ago or 38 years ago when I was a student at UT Austin. He was a drug dealer that lived next door to me. He would be impacted by a lack of $100 bills. And it's because both of these individuals represent, well, the crime and tax evasion part of this little title at the top there. They are engaging in criminal transactions. They're avoiding tax payments. And that means if you take away the hundreds and fifties, they can't do their bit. Would that adversely impact my economy? And I may think on the surface, well, I do nothing illegal. No, there's no problem at all. However, I do remember in the crisis of 2008, it was a liquidity crisis. Money was drying up around the world because banks were afraid to lend to other banks. There's great fear in the system. And when that lending seizes up and banks do not make loans, then it feels like there is less money in the economy. And it's true, there is less money. It's all less electronic money. And during that crisis of where people are basically wondering, should we just take our money out of the bank entirely? There were some people, though, who kept the system afloat because they had to put money into the banks. They knew no other way of doing business. And that were the criminals globally. There was about $1 trillion worth of liquidity from the criminal enterprise sector of the global economy that kept banks going during the darkest days of that crisis. So if we eliminate cash and we eliminate crime, then, well, we eliminate a source of liquidity in the economy. Now, do I really want to say that, thank goodness my bank remained liquid because of people who are engaged in human trafficking and narcotics trades and just horrors and murder for hire schemes? Do I really want my economy to be saved because of that? No, I do not. I do not. And actually, getting rid of all that cash means that, yeah, the economy is vulnerable. We don't have that source of liquidity during the... Don't ask where this money came from because it's going to be laundered through the banking system, but that's where that $1 trillion of liquidity was coming from, money laundering. So if we're not doing that anymore, well, then that last part of the title, the constraint of monetary policy, without cash, we can actually do things with negative interest rates faster and, earlier on in a crisis that would actually shorten the length of that crisis and help me out. So yeah, if we don't have any of the big cash, getting rid of the little cash makes it to where I'm better off as a person. And if we provide banking-like services without fee for people with small accounts, we actually do a lot of people a lot of favors. It works out very well that way. But that's the idea behind this book and why this is a bad guy. Not Benjamin Franklin himself. He's a dead guy. He can't be bad anymore. He's already done his badness and his goodness in life. But the $100 bill is a bad guy. And the fact that $100 bill itself is an inanimate object makes it free for us to say, well, we don't have to love it the way we love a human being. We can treat it with derision. But getting rid of that $100 bill, let's do a little thinking about that. Number one, let's start with the United States border. Now, I'll say first and foremost, there are people who want to halt immigration not because they are law-abiding citizens, but because they hate people who have a skin tone that is not this. I know I'm fortunate. I have white privilege because, dang, I be white. It's glowing. It's reflective. I see a change in the screen tone and all. But yeah, okay, yeah. I'm a white man. A man. Yeah. And I have a lot of privilege because of that. And there are a lot of people who think that because I'm a white man, I should have that privilege. I disagree. I am a human being, and everyone else who is a human being should be treated with respect, and there should be no privilege for one group or another because of gender or lack of gender or mistaken gender or confusion about gender or deliberate change in gender. No, that should not be a thing. Or sexuality or lack of sexuality or your deliberate change in sexuality. No, that should not be it either. And skin tone. I mean, come on. I like watching movies from India, comedies from Nigeria. I've seen it all, man. I love the world. music from Mexico. I got it all, man. I got, and more. I love them all. Let's enjoy the world and not make differences. So for the people who are trying to halt immigration for those reasons, I have no sympathy for you. Go away. You can hate this video. You can leave rude comments. It only reflects the way you hate yourself. And you're going, I don't hate myself. I just hate you. Well, you can't hate other people unless you hate yourself. So deal with that rage and try to find a better way of expressing it than through hate directed outwards. Try to find a way to direct love inward to deal with that own pain that you feel, and then you will find it that you can love others. But I digress. If you're against immigration because of hatred, this is not for you. But if you're against immigration because you really believe that people should not cross borders illegally, and there's some nuance to that, but because I believe people should not cross borders illegally, I believe borders should not be restricting who moves back and forth. I think borders should be more open. But let us say that, yes, it is a shame that we have a law that says you must go through these certain control points, and that if you evade these control points, you have evaded the law, and therefore you are here illegally if you have evaded those points. I do not like the fact that people are doing that because, well, that's a criminal activity, and the money goes to support criminal enterprises. This makes illegal immigration possible. This $100 bill. And if we got rid of them, and get rid of the 50s too, then it becomes much more difficult for people to actually engage in human trafficking. The amount of cash that they have to move around is much more conspicuous, 5 times more. And because of that, they are more likely to be caught, they're more likely to be shut down, and the risk begins to outweigh the benefit of the actual criminal activity. And even if they try to find ways to go through the banking system, there are electronic checks in place that make it to where we are more able to detect criminal activity if it passes through the banking system electronically. So again, it makes it more risky and reduces the incidence of it, and it could reduce it dramatically. And given that, yes, the United States does actually make money from printing money, in this case, the $100 bill, making pennies and nickels, no, it makes no money off of that. But it does make about $10 billion a year from the printing of $100 bills. That's $10 billion. Now, the amount projected to build a wall across the southern border to physically restrain immigration, which, by the way, it would succeed in some areas, but people digging tunnels or getting in boats and going around or flying in planes over or just knocking down sections and paying off the local law enforcement and whoever happens to be there or shooting them or and just driving people through, that would still happen. But anyway, the amount that the wall itself would cost is way more than $10 billion a year for many years. And if we just got rid of these, we wouldn't have to build a wall. And think again about those border control points. Why are they there? Well, they're there because we want to make sure we stop the flow of drugs. Well, you get rid of the $100 bill, and the same thing that makes it difficult to do human trafficking as a criminal operation becomes difficult for drug dealing. You have a lot more wads of paper to deal with, substantially more, and it becomes cumbersome. You're going to drop a couple here and there, and or you have a lot of people with a lot of big bags of cash, and you're going to say, okay, that's some illegal activity going on right there. And it becomes less possible. It becomes much more, when it becomes easier to catch a person doing something that's criminal, then people will just not go into that criminal activity. They're smart. They go, yeah, I get caught. I don't want to do that. So there's less of it. And again, if they try to go through the system electronically, that's a no good. That's a not good. You get caught that way. What about Bitcoin? Great. You still have a lot of money suddenly show up. You have to explain that when you go to a bank, when you actually turn that into usable funds. Otherwise, you just have this big empire of locked down numbers that, yeah, great, you sold a lot of drugs, but you can't do anything with the proceeds of those sales without getting caught. And whoosh, those are gone. And then you don't need those border control points to check for illegal substances entering the United States. There's just no such thing. There's just not happening as much. And by getting rid of that $100 bill, we get rid of a huge capability to engage in that criminal activity. And therefore, we have less need to transfer people illegally around those checkpoints who could also be smuggling the drugs, while you're or the cash while you're going across the border illegally. Go ahead and hold this package for me because we'll collect it on the other side. You get rid of that. And you get rid of the need to spend money on enforcing the law that deals with that. It's a very tempting proposition here. And now that we have, just way fewer illegal migrants, now go to the person who's asking about painting my house. He's not going to be able to offer cash to his employees and do it all off the books because, this large amount of cash here now, if we get rid of the $100 bill, it's not something that can be transferred around easily, these much larger piles of currency, and he becomes more conspicuous and draws the attention of the IRS, who will go after him for tax evasion, and payroll tax evasion in particular. He could be paying all the taxes on the money he earns, but the money he's paying his employees, he's not paying taxes on. Got him. Now, does this raise prices overall? Yes, it does. I'm okay with that. I want to see my prices go up if it means the elimination of criminal or unethical activity that was supporting a lower price point. If it means the agricultural sector has to come to terms with the fact that it cannot grow certain crops in certain places because it's just uneconomic to do so, then do not grow them. And if the U.S. government says, that's unacceptable, we have to find a way to grow food to feed people, then let's do so. But let's also not do it through large corporations. That's another thing. But let's find a way to make it happen there so that way we don't have to have a whole sector of the economy that depends upon people who are not here legally. And that is the construction sector. That is the agricultural sector. A huge part of the American economy depends upon using cash to pay people, not for what they're worth, but for what a lower value of labor is, basically cheating other people who have those skills who are American citizens. Or if you're here and you've crossed a border to be a migrant, then you're being paid the same as somebody who is here in America. And I'm fine with that. If you've got the same skills, let's pay you the same money. Let's do that. This is a land of opportunity. You should want to come here. We should be willing to say, if you want to come here, let's have you come here. But if you get rid of the $100 bill, then all the criminal stuff there goes away. Now, there are still ways to take large amounts of money and launder it through the economy, and there are people who will fight that. There's a reason why the National Association of Realtors has done a lot of work to prevent people asking too many questions about cash transactions for luxury properties. There'll be some money laundering there. There'll be some tax evasion going on there. And you'll find other people who will make objections to this. The whole payday checking industry, where you come in with your paycheck and you go to one of these places that'll cash your check and give you money for it, and after taking a large chunk out of it for the privilege of cashing your check. Those guys are very politically powerful. They are against schemes that will take away their business of exploiting people who are underbanked. And you do that by you get rid of these guys and you make it to where they can't do that job. So this is a symbol of exploitation, of criminal activity, of tax evasion, of just a lot of illegal stuff. And remember, you take a pile of $100 bills, of all the $100 bills we got, and put it next to the pile of all the other dollar bills that we got, all the other denominations of currency, this is the one that gets closest to the moon. This is the one that's the biggest. This is almost 80% of the U.S. currency in circulation is $100 bills. And if you got rid of that, you would get rid of the curse of cash. I highly encourage you, if you're interested in more of this and want to know, like, hey, wait a minute, come on now, what about this? What about that? Read this book. Go get this book. I'm doing a review. I'm not getting paid for it. I just liked reading this book. And like I said, I'm most of the way through. I'm not all the way done with it, but from what I've read, this is a good book. And the points that are made there about getting rid of the 100 and getting rid of the 50 to eliminate criminal activity, to eliminate tax evasion. I don't even think I got into that part there, but or all of it there, about how you take large amounts of money and just take them to foreign banks and you don't pay taxes on it, baby. And when you want to pull it out, you don't tell anybody and sneak it through customs. And there's a lot of that. And there's a lot of people who have white privilege who will smuggle large amounts of currency and not declare it at customs. And because they've got $100 bills, they can do it. It's not noticed at customs. Yeah. And that's tax evasion. But yeah, okay, so now I have mentioned it. Well, go read more about this and make comment. And if you enjoy this book and you want to see more book reviews, let me know. Like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff there. I'm happy to make more videos to help you out. And if you think this is great stuff and you're wondering why isn't the YouTube algorithm sharing it with other people, why don't you tell other people who you consider for your friends to give this a view? Give this a watch. Get it onto their play schedules. Because the more people watching it, the more YouTube thinks it must be popular. I better show it to more people because the more people who watch it is one of those crazy AI things. But anyway, yeah, if you like it, great. Hey, it's always nice to have a couple hundred friends watch my videos and say, hey, I liked it. And, if it's a few thousand, that's also nice. If it gets into the millions, okay, that's a little crazy there, but, I like the thousands. I like where it is here. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what else you'd like to see stuff on, and I'll be happy to provide. And yeah, I'll get back to Victoria 3 videos once they release the 1.9 patch, because right now I'm kind of on hold. I'm playing a lot of Civ 7. I'm doing a lot of Baldur's Gate 3, just because those guys are ready to go, and 1.9 is going to change a lot of stuff. That means I got to change a lot of mods, and I'll probably do something where I just build it one off from there. But anyway, I like books. I like reading about economics. Give this one a go. I've rambled on enough. I think I should stop recording, and I'll upload the video, and then you'll see it. But then, wait a minute, I'm doing this beforehand. I am confusing. This is one of those times where I should probably cut myself off in the middle of a sentence